Hey, how's it going, guys? Domino Paris 21 here, and back again to bring you guys yet another deck profile for you all. So, of course, what I have to present to you guys is my Brawler deck, but for this deck, it's actually not going to be the Big Bang deck, which obviously we all know, consisting of Big Bang Dragon and Knucklebuster and all their friends, but instead it's actually going to be my Brawler Skybeat and Shotgun Blow Dragon deck. I like to kind of call this my budget Brawlers, or like brawling on a budget. Yeah, I like saying that. So yeah, my original intent was to build the Big Bang deck, but just due to other financial priorities, mainly, personal financial priorities and other decks that I actually prefer to play instead. For post-set 16 version E, I decided to kind of put them on hold, but I was able to kind of get the cards for this deck for fairly cheap, just because I have awesome friends and such. But yeah, you can honestly build this deck for like $40, $50, maybe less if you're lucky. Of course, depending on how prices are, depending on the time you're watching this video. But yeah, the deck surprisingly has been testing really well. I was able to perform with this deck very successfully in a few locals as well, even, contending with Glare, Seekers, Revengers and such. But yeah, this deck can definitely pose a pretty decent matchup against those decks when the deck's really running the way it's designed and when played right. But yeah, and also the deck is a lot of fun to play. So hey, a cheap, fairly competitive deck that's a lot of fun to play. Sign me up, right? So yeah, without further ado, let's actually get started. So first things first, for the starter, we have your Brawler fighting Draco Kid. Although I wasn't really a huge fan of the starter initially, especially obviously with Big Bang, because I don't think it works really well in that deck. But for this particular deck, he works wonders, just because basically the whole premise of this particular deck is that it just kind of focuses it on enabling all the individual skills of some of your key cards in the deck and having them combo, combo with one another to essentially perform, well, you could potentially wipe a whole board, or you just start just getting some constant retiring. Hopefully you get retire columns, which is what you can do with this starter. So with him is you just put him in Soul and give your Vanguard the red text ability of, if a unit in the front row, row of your opponent's field is put in the drop zone, you get to counterblast one and retire the same unit in the same column. So essentially you put him in Soul, and your Vanguard has to be Legion, by the way. So you put him in Soul. If you knock out a front row unit, you can take out the column with it for one counterblast. Keep in mind, if you take out two units, you can counterblast two to take out both of both the boosters if your opponent has one. So that's one thing I really like about this card. So it works definitely in great combination with a few key cards, which I'll get to in a sec once I get to them. But yeah, definitely a must play. Next, for my grade 3s, of course, easily my favorite card in the deck, your 4 Shotgun Blow Dragon and your 4 Skybeat Dragon. So basically, with Shotgun Blow Dragon, he, of course, coming from Fighters Collection 2014, I definitely underrated this card and how capable he is. But what he does is, when you perform Legion, you can counterblast 2, and your opponent chooses 2 rear guards for them to retire. And then if you have more rear guards than your opponents after they retire 2 rear guards, then he gains an extra crit. The extra crit is really what I like a lot about this card, just because obviously being the fact that it's a Legion, you're not restricted by limit break as much, and there's not as much condition in terms of getting the skill off. Now obviously you have to get the 4 cards in drop zone, but I mean, there's a lot of utility in this deck to help you get there. So I was actually able to use his skill turn 3 a lot in almost most of my games. So that extra crit really can help. And, like I say with crits, like let's say your opponent's at 3 damage, you can easily pressure them, force out an early Sentinel when they're at 3, because they're obviously scared of you drive checking a crit if they no guard. And at the same time, while you're forcing out early shield, you're constantly retiring their field. So card's really solid, and he's really like your MVP grade 3. Now with Skybeat Dragon, originally he was supposed to be the trial deck card, but I really like him a lot. Very simple skill, but like him a lot, and he's a Legion. So when you perform Legion, you can retire a front row unit. So very simple skill, but what I like is that it's free of counterblast. So it makes it so that you can use him in combination with your starter to knock out a whole column for 1 counterblast, which is really nice. So basically the whole premise with the grade 3s is you want to run 4 of each, because you constantly want to keep, rerunning one after the other and just keep the tempo up with the constant retiring. Because because that's really how this deck wins. Because if you're not able to do that, you're going to have a lot of trouble, you know, winning a lot of your games, especially when you're up against, you know, the top tier decks and such. So, yep, definitely a great combination with these two. Love these cards. Next for grade 2s, you have your 4 Yojin. He's definitely one of the absolute, he's definitely the MVP of my grade 2s. But what he does is, while he's on the rearguard circle, when your Vanguard performs Legion, you retire 1 unit in the front row. So as you can see with some of the combinations, like if your opponent has like a full field, you can, you know, have 2 of these out, use Shotgun Blow, perform Legion. Since both these skills activate at the same time, you can choose the order. You can choose the order that you can resolve them. So you use the Yojins first, knock out the front row, and then Shotgun Blow will take out 2 rear guards. So it's pretty nice, and it's yet another combination to use with your starter too as well. So definitely a lot of big plays that you utilize with Yojin. So definitely my MVP of my grade 2s. Then next, you have your 4 Lise, just +3 whenever a unit gets hit in the drop zone. Keep in mind that it doesn't have to be during main phase, so if you like attack a rear guard and your opponent doesn't guard it, then he does gain the +3, so that's something I really like with these new Brawler units. So yeah, definitely gotta run him. He is the mate of your Shotgun Blow. And then you have your 3 Skyhall Dragon, the mate of the Skybeat Dragon. When he's placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Brawler in its name, counter +1, retire front row. So he's kind of like my last resort if I really need to like get a problem card out of the way, like a Commander Laurel or something that my opponent has in the corner rear guards, to use in combination with the starter. But just because it's pretty hefty and counterblasting, you really want to prioritize it for like your Shotgun Blow. He's kind of my last resort. So I kind of use him sparingly, which is why there's 3 in the deck. And then for my grade 1s, you have your 3 Perfect Guards and your 1 Quintet, like the Quintet, just another way to try and help set up your drop zone a little bit quicker. And honestly, honestly, I have the original OG golds in here because, you know, they were cheaper to get, and it doesn't matter. There's nothing specific, because seeing that, well, Brawlers don't even have a Perfect Guard anyway. So, yep, any Perfect Guard's fine. Then you have your 4 Kohemai. Sorry, I'm really bad with names, guys. But he's just your drop and draw. So when he's placed on rearguard circle, if your opponent has 1 or less rearguard in the front row, discard and draw. So definitely want to have 4, just because, like I said, you want to accelerate your drop zone and just get to that Legion as quick as possible. That's only going to benefit your deck if you do so. Speaking of which is why I played 3 Rising Phoenix. Of course, in my older decks, I usually don't like to run like more than like 2 of Rising Phoenix and all his clones. But 3 is amazing in this deck, because 1, obviously it sets up your drop zone quicker to get to your Legion skills faster, but also on top of that, like I said, you know, you're really going to be working your grade 3s in combination with each other, riding one after another, and seeing that obviously its mate is part of the Vanguard circle. Like if you re-ride, you instantly already have two soul to use another Rising Phoenix. So Rising Phoenixes it's really rare that they're dead in my hand. I usually have a way to utilize them in some sort of way. And then of course you have your 3 Arc. Debate is just your Lise skill of +3 when a unit's sent to the drop zone. I would like to play 4, but I don't know, like I kind of wanted to make more room just to play like Kohemai and Rising Phoenix, because it's more important to make sure your drop zone's set up to establish your Legion skill as early as possible, as opposed to the power boost, because the power boost is only really relevant until later in the game anyway. But I'm hoping to put myself in a winning position once I reach the late stage of the game, either or. So I think the 3 is perfectly fine for the deck. And then for the triggers, you have your 4 Djinns. Definitely important to try and hold these just to try and hit some key columns, higher tier columns in the later game when you're trying to make your push. Just 2 of each crit. So 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. I know there's a stand trigger that you can use that, like, if you retire a unit in the front row and it's in the same column, retire that stand trigger on your field to knock out a center column. But honestly, I don't want to play stands in the deck, and I just like the solid 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, because I feel like there's ways to play around that. I feel, and plus, I mean, the deck already has tools to, you know, wipe out rear guards constantly, and sometimes effectively, like, you can wipe out your opponent's board if you have all the cards playing for you right. So I don't want to have to, what I feel like you're hindering your trigger lineup just for that one skill when the deck kind of is already equipped to do that effectively already. So yeah, so that's the deck, guys. Like I said, the deck's very cheap to build, cheap to make. Like I said, $40 or less, or $50, depending where you get your prices from, will pretty much get you the deck. And you know, it's definitely a lot of good times. So like I said, if you want a nice, fun, pretty fairly competitive deck, or viable deck to play, definitely give this one a try. So as always, guys, don't forget to leave a comment down below with any questions and such you have, and always definitely leave a thumbs up on the video. That thumbs up, honestly, I really do appreciate. It does help my videos get noticed a little bit more, so I always appreciate that. And always subscribe to definitely subscribe to my channel if you hadn't. Well, on that, guys, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.